Hello, everyone.
Hello, soul family. Excited as a happy little puppy. Alice, I
So
saw
are we.
that. That's so beautiful.
How's
All
everybody feeling
right.
out there?
How are you guys doing?
We're looking here.
Yes.
So,
So,
we have a few exciting updates lined up. It's been a while since we did an kind of like a status update on this ascension, and so many things have been happening energetically that it's hard to even keep a foothold on the ground. Like anytime we try to make an update, last few times the energy's been so shaky that we just had to like go back inwards and redo it all over again. So
this is an update that we got 4 days ago. So we're kind of 4 days too late, but there's no sense of late. We said to our guys, if we have to bring this update out, please regulate our energies, because energies are like a roller coaster. I'm sure all of you are feeling it.
Yesterday when we woke up and we looked at the clock, it was like 1:30 p.m. and we thought it was like 8 a.m. at the most, right? And I'm like, I'm going back to sleep.
He woke up with his lazy, like he said it's 1:30. He's like, whoa, I'm going back to sleep. He was so freaked out about that.
I'm done with this. I can't take this anymore. This time thing is like going crazy. It's like speeding up so fast we can't even keep up with what's taking place at the moment.
So the good news is we got some crazy ass upgrades in Mount Shasta. We have some amazing positive updates to share with you all. We're so excited. This came in about 4 days ago when we were still in Mount Shasta. It actually came in on the last night that we were there. We were sleeping, and as you guys know, the city of Telos is an underground sixth dimensional city. It's
a 5D city.
It's a 5D
under Mount Shasta.
And it's under Mount Shasta. So many of you guys have read the books about Telos. I know I read it like 6 years ago. I resonate so much with that beautiful civilization.
And for those of you who haven't, we're referring to the books volume 1, 2, and 3 called Telos by Aurelia Louise Jones or James.
Just look it up. It's Telos by Aurelia something. You'll find it. She's really good.
It's a classic.
So on the last night, tell them what happened.
So basically, when I woke up in the middle of the night at 5 a.m., well, morning, and I was sensing these beings working on both of us, and they were sending us deep healing. But instead of our regular, when we're sleeping and we're in this healing chamber and we're being worked on in the higher dimensions, this actually felt different. We felt like these beings were like literally very close to us, and it seemed like they were there in the physical with us. And when I tuned in, I realized that it was the Telosian beings that had communicated with us earlier. And when they had originally made contact with us in Mount Shasta, they told us that they're going to be working with us, and I set intentions for them to work directly with us, give us lots of healing and upgrades and whatnot. And that night they were actually showing us that they were still underground, but they were just underneath our room. So they were showing us that they were literally 15 or 20 feet away from us distance-wise, and they were sending us kind of like downloads of the blueprints of what's to come on planet Earth, what timelines are being unfolded. And also they were giving us templates for what our soul's matrix needs, for what we need to do for the next few steps that are coming on planet Earth. So it's very exciting. It was literally, we were given the directions for what we need to do for the next few months.
And the best part is that all of these directions were given to us like in a zip file. Cut that? I'm not resonating with that particular frequency. We were shown that these instructions are being downloaded into us like a zip file, and over the next few months we'll unzip it and we'll start sharing it with all of you. But the exciting thing is, a big part of that download that we got, you guys, was directly related to this solstice, because we're being shown that this solstice is the solstice of solstices. So those of you who are coming in physical to be with us at House of Ra, we are super pumped, and you should be too, because this is no ordinary solstice. We're actually basking in wonder and awe as to the visions we're being shown for this solstice. Our guides have actually never, I say never, taken an interest in any event that we've done, or not even in our YouTube channel, as much as like the kind of work and preparation that's going into this solstice, December 21st, 2021. Many of you know. If you don't, I'm the first. Let me be the first to invite you. There's a few select tickets left. Like literally, tickets are going. We are capping the tickets at 350. We don't want it to be a very large crowd. We feel like we want it to be an intimate crowd. 350 seems like a good size. Even though the venue can fit 700, we're capping it at 350. So if you are called to go, please do not delay, because you are being summoned to do light work. Your guides are summoning you for something bigger than you and me, my friends. The kind of downloads, the kind of instructions we're being given, being given step-by-step instructions as to how to anchor light in a fifth dimensional way that is actually going to help Gaia with her ascension. So if you guys are already coming, I can feel how excited you are, and we're going to send out an email and all of that, because so much is required to prep for this solstice. And even those of you who are not going to be coming in the physical, we'll send out an email via our newsletter. If you're not already signed up, please do sign up, because we will send out an email on cleansing requirements and also spiritual discipline protocols to anchor, to help open up, clear our chakras and anchor more light. Because you want to say a little bit about that?
Yeah, basically, I'm glad you EldoRa touched on this topic, because we're getting a lot of downloads about why it's so important for light workers to start meeting physically at this stage in our ascension. So until this point, light workers were spread out all over Earth, because we're kind of like the grid keepers. So think of us as the cosmic crystals, all the star seeds, all the ones who volunteered, who came here from higher dimensions. We hold a higher frequency, and that's why we came here, because we are less disrupted by the 3D matrix of Earth. We've been on ascended planets, and we are closer to God's source. So when humanity needed our assistance to go through this shift, we came in the millions. So currently there are millions of light workers who are stationed on Earth. But so far, we've been in phase 1 of the ascension, which means that all the light workers, our main task was to create a grid around the planet and hold our spots for wherever we happen to be in our physical respective places. So as these gamma wave radiations from the great central sun, these 5D frequencies were being sent to Earth, all of the light workers, whether we know it or not, we were absorbing all these frequencies in our bodies. They're causing a shift, and they're being anchored through our bodies into the grids of Earth. Without the light workers, we've mentioned this many times, without the light workers, this ascension would be not possible. It's not like you just shine this light on Earth and everybody magically, everything magically shifts. You have to have human anchors in order to be able to carry this light and anchor into the grid of Earth. It all depends on free will. The thing is that 3D people, when they are hit with the same gamma wave frequencies, because they're not conscious, so they have not given their free will permission to anchor the light. So it's pretty much like the light passes through them, but nothing happens. So now we've gone past the tipping point where enough of the star seeds have been anchoring the 5D grids over the past decade, over the past couple of decades, and now we're at the tipping point in our ascension where it's more needed for us to go to phase 2 of the ascension work. And phase 2 requires light workers, instead of being disparate, instead of being spread out all over the globe, phase 2 of the ascension requires us to come together and start doing light work in groups. Whether it can even be a virtual meeting, because there is no time and space, there's no distance. So even if you participate in full moon gatherings online, or you do like just
solstice gatherings,
monthly meditations, or any group, even if you're a group of 3, that becomes very powerful. Our power is exponential when we meet as a group. So this is the direct guidance that's been coming in the last couple of weeks, is that now it is more important than ever before for light workers to start working as groups. And what happens when we come in the physical? When we come and meet in a physical place, we create a very powerful node. So for example, many light workers are going to be traveling to certain node points on Earth, because these are the node points where light workers need to gather in larger numbers to anchor the physical 5D grid nodes that are being created right now. So For us, that guidance was to do this event in Miami. And why Miami of all places, right? It's not like it's a sacred portal, or it's not like we can visibly see there's any like spiritual work being done here.
We were not just shown Miami, but the exact point in Miami to do this work.
Even our venue is called the sacred space. Even that's not a synchronicity, because the venue that was selected, it was not selected by us. It was literally shown to us. We were led there.
One of our soul family emailed us and she said, check this out. But anyway, it was fully guided. It was dropped in our lap, literally.
Right. So what we're being shown, the significance of Miami and Florida and many other gathering places around the world will have similar frequencies, is that there are gigantic underground crystals that contain the Atlantean frequencies that are buried underneath the ground in these specific geographical locations. So what we're going to be doing is we're literally being shown configurations, like spiral configurations that we all need to create as like human crystal grids. When we gather, we're going to be creating these spiral configurations and doing certain chants to anchor the higher 5D frequencies into that specific area of the land. And that's what helps anchor the 5D grid into the land there.
Yes.
So for those of you who are not familiar with 5D grids and 3D grids, the simple version of it is that we were operating in a very dense 3D grid where everything's reversed, where everything seems to be uphill because it's going against our nature. It's kind of like a control frequency. So now the 5D frequency, the 5D grid that's been coming in and anchored on planet Earth, it helps all of us live in truth, peace, and harmony. And that's the most important work that we need to do right now.
So, you know, it's very exciting. As many of you know, when we host our solstice events or any events, even our retreat, oh my God, our guides love to play this joke on us that on the day before the retreat or the day before solstice, they say, drop everything you've planned and this is the vision we have and this is the work we need you to do. Even the last solstice, like they were giving us all these medicine songs and everything the night before solstice. So everything comes together super easy and quick. For this particular solstice, we're actually being given directions on how to host a galactic ceremony and form human chains and human links, and we're still downloading a lot of that. So we're super excited to have you guys. If you are called to this or you don't know about this and this is the first time you're hearing of it, go to www.houseofra, so houseofra.com. There's a few tickets left. We would love to have you. The event's happening in Miami. And for those of you who've already bought tickets, guys, I've been meaning to send you guys an email, but I've just not had the chance to. On the 22nd, so the day after the event, keep yourselves free during lunchtime, because Lisa, our lovely assistant, is trying to get us all an option where we can have lunch together and just spend time together. Not so much in such a sacred like event space, but more like just chill together, all right? So yeah, we're super, super excited to be doing this work for solstice. And before we move on, what I'm being shown clearly, and so is Siman, is that this solstice, like we said, is going to be the solstice of solstices, and something huge is going to shift for planet Earth. It's almost like the dark ones, so the CA playing ball, you know who I'm talking about. The dark ones know that their time is up. They know that this solstice, this December 21st, they are fully aware of these node points of the light, these timelines of the light. The dark ones are fully aware of this mega explosion of light that is about to take place on December 21st of this year. And that is why many of you might be seeing a heightened fear narrative in your lives. Like yesterday, I asked Lisa to check. I said, hey, check what other cities, other countries, other than Costa Rica and Mexico don't have requirements for a negative PCR test for us to travel to. And she was looking into Guatemala and she was looking into a few places and she's like, only Dominican Republic other than Mexico and Costa Rica don't require the test. But she's like, you know, EldoRa, as I was doing this test, I have this anxiety because I looked at Costa Rica and all of a sudden they're saying Costa Rica requires all these jabs and whatnot, and I'm having anxiety. And I said to her, remember, just take a deep breath and remember that this narrative is not meant for you. So for those of you who've forgotten, we've said this many times, I'm telling you This is so important right now. And I'm going to go into the very exciting point right next, so you'll see why it is time to let go of the fear. Because all these narratives are not meant for you. None of these are going to pass. None of these are going to come true. You're not going to be forced to do anything other than what your will dictates you to do, or your heart guides you to do. Everything that's going on right now in the world is the dark one's final last ditch attempt to push the fear narrative so intensely and insanely, saying if you're not jabbed, you can't work on the as a flight attendant, you can't work as a nurse, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't own a restaurant, you can't enter customers, you can't go to school. So they're pushing it so much because they know that as of December 21st, the light explosion is going to be so humongous that they literally feel like they have just these next 2 months, literally 2 months, you guys, to take as many people with them as possible. And what I mean by that is that when they inject, or when people, without realizing what they're doing, they're going and getting all these shots. They're going, like I spoke to the flight attendant the other day on our flight back from, where were we, Mount Shasta? And she's like, we have no choice. We all had to get the shot. But you know, I want to say this to you, is just coming up. Siman showed me an article a few days ago. Southwest Airlines, all their pilots have actually entered into a
class action lawsuit.
A class action lawsuit saying, if you want us to get the shot, we're all going to quit. We're all going to resign. And right now, this class action, if it comes to pass, like if they win the case, they're setting a precedent for the rest of the world.
Yeah, and they're actually fighting for humanity.
Exactly. So this is happening on a big scale. So if anyone here is still buying into the fear narrative, please know that all these Bidens and all of these people are just CLONES.
Or puppets.
Puppets placed just to continue the narrative so that more and more people wake up, which is why such a joker is in that place, a clown, a monkey is in that office, is in that spot, because it takes a clown, it takes a monkey to wake up the masses. And even then, most of the people are turned off.
3D people are so turned off from reality that they can see all the wrong things happening right in front of their eyes. But there's no resistance. There's no like questioning. There's no like, why was this allowed? Why was this level of corruption allowed?
But you know why that is though? Why is that? It's not their fault. You know why that is? And we talk about this all the time. It's because they have been dumbed down so much.
Yeah.
We as humanity have been dumbed down from our 12-strand fully functioning DNA to 2-strand. So many of these folks operating in 3D, the third dimensional frequencies, are operating with just 2 strands of their DNA out of 12 strands.
And it's not just being dumbed down, but it's also the fear that if you speak up, then we're going to target you.
Yeah.
But in reality, they don't have the power to target anyone.
Yeah.
You see, Lightworkers, we're representatives of God on planet Earth. So we're pretty much untouchable. The contract that the Dark Ones have with the forces of light is that they cannot touch the Lightworkers. What they can do, however, is convince us that they have power over us and trick us into giving our free will away. So right now, what's happening on planet Earth is that more and more people are awakening, and they're seeing through all of these dark black magic spells. They're seeing through all the trickery, and just seeing and just witnessing is enough, because we're not just seeing as powered as sheep. We're seeing all these events unfold as through the eyes of God. Because once you become awakened and conscious, you're seeing reality through the eyes of God. And that is a very powerful thing, because when you witness reality through the objective eyes of truth, then anything that is false just crashes against it. You don't even need to do anything. You don't need to wage a war to bring down this old system. You just need to witness its flaws. You just need to witness its trickery and deception, and that is enough to create a crack in the matrix. So that's how powerful we actually are.
You want to go into into the WTC here?
Yeah, so one of the points that we mentioned in the last video, we were uploading an energy update that kind of crashed in the middle because it was like Mercury retrograde and we couldn't upload it. But one of the points we wanted to cover is that Lightworkers have been given the inner vision to see through all the lies and deception of the cabal. So we came here with the inner understanding of how all this trickery works. And some of these deceptions are so are done so meticulously. They're done so cleverly that without having this inner understanding of how magic works, how all this energy works, without having a clear understanding of all the laws of physics and all the laws of creation, humans would be pretty much at a big disadvantage. They would have been taken for a ride, and their free wills would have been completely taken over. So one of the ways that they increase their deceptions is by creating black magic spells that perpetuate the negativity. Oh, give me 1 minute.
The dishwasher is super noisy. What is that?
I don't know.
Is it the guy cutting the grass? I'll continue where he left off and he'll come back and continue. Oh, there, he'll be back. What was that?
It was 3D Matrix trying to disrupt
3D
us.
okay.
The coffee machine just went off on its own. It seems to have its own
You
intelligence.
can't hear it, we can, Robert.
So basically, the way their dark magic spells work, we'll take the example of 9/11. So what happened on 9/11, most of the awakened population at this point realizes that it was an inside job. But what we don't realize is that when you go to New York City, when you go to Ground Zero, and you look at the memorial that's been created, it's basically 2 black cubes. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Jamie Phillips, who basically decoded this. So this is genius. The dark ones have always used black cubes as a symbol for the Antichrist. And why is that? When you take a black box, like let's say you have a black cube, and you unfold all of its sides, what do you get? You get a black cross. You get 1 side and 2 arms. So it's a black cross. So the black cube is basically just a black cross folded up, right? So it's the antithesis to the Christed light. So in the memorial for 9/11 in Ground Zero, there's basically 2 black cubes that are left that were the foundation of the building. And around those black cubes, they've built like a water kind of memorial, like a pond, to create a place where people can go and reminisce. But what happens in reality, this is a black magic spell created to perpetuate the negativity and all the violence and all the destruction that was caused on 9/11, and to capture it into that site, to keep on perpetuating that negative energy that was created in 9/11, and to keep on spreading these bad vibes into New York City. And the way they do that is that the black cube can be seen by the beings of the inner earth. Like, let's say you're underneath the ground and you're in a different dimension. When you look through that inner dimension of inner earth and you look up at Ground Zero of New York, all you're gonna see is 2 black cubes. So those black cubes are kind of like a portal for dark entities to travel into our dimension. And also what happens is that when people go to that memorial and they remember all the death and violence and destruction, they're sending these thoughts into the water that is surrounding that area. Now the water can be used as a carrier of information, because water can be programmed with any information any intention that you put into it. So by people going in to that site and reminiscing on all the destruction and death, they're programming the water with that energy of the destruction and death. And the 2 black cubes that were left from the foundation of the building are also portals for dark entities to harness all of that negative death, destruction that is constantly being perpetuated even 20 years from the original incident. And now that energy is being spread out all over New York. So that was one of the reasons that New York City went through such a dark period during this whole lockdown and pandemic, because there's not just one, there's many black magic spells happening all around the world.
And while we cannot name some of the religious ones, just think about how many mainstream religions use the black cube. I was gonna say it and Siman's like, don't, you'll get death threats. I'm like, really? He's like, oh my God, but don't talk about religion. So you know, you guys can probably figure it out. There's one mainstream religion, black cube worship. So these black cubes are actually on Earth, what we can see as black cubes from inner Earth, the beings that are the reptilians living on inner Earth, they look at these black cubes and they know that's where they harness the loosh energy, which is the energy of grief and panic and, oh, I'm not God and I have to run around this 20 times for God to like me. Or even when I went to the 9/11 memorial, like when I went before my awakening 10 years ago, I cried and cried and cried. I was completely asleep, but I cried because as soon as you go there, you start feeling the energy of what happened that day. And that's the energy of despair and fear that these inner earth beings harness as loosh energy. So what's happening right now is, because so many starseeds and light workers are shining their awareness on such, it's right, we see how the matrix works
and
now.
And just by us sharing this information with you guys, now let's say 1,000 people watch this video, or 3,000 or 5,000, however many, now we're all aware of how this dark magic works. Now the dark magic can't work anymore because one of the requirements for the magic to work is that people are unaware. But when part of the population, even if it's just a sliver of the population, even if it's less than 1%, but if part of the population becomes aware, suddenly the magic loses its hold over the people and starts dissipating.
Yes,
so
because the whole purpose of the black magic is for it to be as hidden and as disguised and as cleverly done as possible. So that's what's happening right now. The dark forces are actually fully aware that they've lost the game. They're fully aware, completely aware that they're not in power anymore. Even though they have a so-called representative in the White Office, it's not what it seems. There is no White Office, you guys. There's nothing going on, and everything's being shot from a studio. Just soak that up for a second. Everything that's going on is just a narrative so that there's some form of continuity for the sleeping 3D masses, so they don't get a jolt, they don't get a shock. But what we're being shown very clearly is that solstice this year is a huge, huge spike in the light quotient for planet Earth, a huge turning point for planet Earth, huge, massive, never been done kind of turning point. And because these guys, the dark ones, know that their time's over, please be aware, that's what we're all being reminded to, please be aware that from now until solstice, the efforts to increase the fear narrative are going to be, like, they're going to go up like crazy. So like Lisa went into fear when she saw the Costa Rican requirements. Many of you may go into that same fear, but just know that every single one of you watching, and I say this with surety because I am very clear on this, every single light worker, starseed, agent of the light watching this, you are all covered. We are all shrouded.
We're all protected in bubbles
of divine light, and no harm will come to us, children, sons and daughters of God. No harm will come to us. We are here on mission. We are here on a soul contract. And here's the best part, which is why I'm going to segue into the next point. One of the most exciting things the Telosians showed us when we were in Mount Shasta a few days ago is that all of us, all starseed lightworker souls, are being disconnected from the 3D matrix. Really soak that in, you guys. 436 people in the house. That's amazing. Our souls are being disconnected from the 3D matrix because our job in the 3D matrix is done. And this is the most clear message we've received for this transmission that we're sharing. And what we're being shown that will feel like for many of us is this feeling of floating. Is this feeling of floating above 3D, not feeling grounded?
Yeah, it's like we've been feeling like we've been vibrating above this reality recently.
Yes.
And that's exactly what EldoRa and Siman think, why that's happening.
It's like we're floating and we're super ungrounded. And also, a lot of past memories are surfacing. A lot of these past memories are showing up to us, or they're just being shown, saying, this is how far you've come. So many of you might be tempted to attach to those old stories and say, let me go back and check their Facebook, or let me go back and give them a call, or let me look at old photos. But the reason all these old memories are surfacing is to show every single one of us how far we've come. And you know, as an exercise, if you even just think of someone that you knew 10 years ago and you look at them today, their faces, like you just look at them, you're actually going to say, oh my God, I'm in a different world, because you are. A lot of them, when you look at their matrix, you can see how there's 444 people in the house and 144 likes.
Holy crap.
I love that. So many of you, many of us, us included, we are going so fast at the speed of light that we don't stop, we don't pause to think of how far we've come, just from last year, just from 2 years ago, just from 5 years ago, just from 10 years ago. So this is, however you want to do it, you guys, really pause to reflect to yourself how much you've grown. This is the hardest part, because no one's going to reflect it to you. You have to reflect it to yourself. And all these, so one of the things they showed us is this disconnect from the 3D matrix. We're disconnected, and we're going to be, it hasn't yet happened, we're being shown we're going to be plugged into the 5D matrix. So 2022, the visions we're seeing is that it's going to be easy. It's going to be pleasurable for all light workers. There's going to be 2 timelines, like we said in the last energy update, which got disconnected. One timeline is an elevator going up at the speed of light. The other timeline is a crashing elevator. So there's 3D and 5D both happening on the same planet. So expect ease, expect more joy, more connection, more soul family, more coming together, more ease in general. And one other huge byproduct of being disconnected from this 3D matrix is that all these 3D lessons of duality are no longer going to be present in the 5D matrix. Which is why, if you guys have a lot of soul lessons left, if you guys have a lot of ego lessons left, if you have a lot of ego harmonization still left to do, now's a great time to do it. Because in 5D, you can't go as fast as you can right now. Right now, 3D is in your face. It's blowing up like diarrhea in your face. So use that 3D shit that's blowing up to reflect to yourself, oh shit, that's where I get triggered. I need to work on my triggers. Oh shit, that's where I feel hurt. I need to work on what am I feeling low worthy of that's hurting me? Why is that person's opinion of me so important that it's hurting me? What else? How else can they navigate this time between now and when the 5D connection goes on?
Yeah, so difficulty or ease in any specific timeline depends on your vibration and your level of consciousness and how you interpret reality. Reality is always neutral. Reality is not like this is a bad reality, that's a good reality. Like, it all depends on how you react to the circumstances around you. So we know someone from our soul family who is going through a very hard time, who is going through monetary difficulties, is not able to generate an income and has a huge family, but she's the most positive person you've ever met on earth. Like, she'll never give you an inkling that there's something that is challenging and that she's feeling defeated. So for her, the reality will continue to get better and better and better, and the universe will reflect to her that you are reflecting the energy of as if you are already in the 5D grid, because the 5D grid doesn't anchor from outside, it anchors from within. So our job is to go against all odds and to ignore the stimulus, ignore the data around us, and to realize that we are the creators of the reality, and we have to anchor and hold and stabilize this 5D feeling within us. So the 5D field is generated when you are in bliss, when you are in happiness, and you don't need millions of dollars to be in that state. You could actually be very rich and be very miserable, so you won't be in 5D. What it takes is your mental commitment and your understanding of the laws of physics. So when you understand that you are the creator and that everything that's created in your reality is created by your inner state, in how you choose to react to the challenges that life throws at you. When you say, I'm going to react with optimism, I'm going to react with faith, I know the universe has a plan for me, then you are constantly giving your higher self instructions on what to create around you. So when we say 2022 will become easier for many people, it really just means that people who get it are going to fly. people who are resisting and waiting for a handout and saying somebody come and save me, that's not going to happen, because you have to save yourself. That's why this whole ascension, it's not black and white. It's not like a handbook is given to you and said, hey, this is what's been happening on earth, now let's move on and create a new world. It's not as simple as that. The handbook is within us.
Yes.
Then we have to navigate everything within us and say we choose to anchor a way of living which is in peace and harmony with all of humanity,
Yes.
with all life on this planet. So when we choose this new way of navigating through life, then our life becomes easier.
And you know, guys, even for those of you watching, we read the comments on YouTube and we see that 98% of the comments are so high vibrational. So, I mean, energy doesn't lie. You're either a high vibrational person who has learned how to reflect high vibrational comments, or you're in victim consciousness. So I'll give you a very simple example. We were recently, this is a super simple example that just flashed in front of my mind. When we see how a person writes or how a person speaks, it's very easy for us to give a resume of their vibration just based on their words and the energy coming through. So when we were in Mount Shasta, so many of you were like, oh my God, like we're loving that you're there. Like you guys, how you normally write. And one person says, geez, you guys sure do get around. What does that remind you of? Like, you know, your 3D bitchy friends, geez, you guys sure do get around. There's nothing rude about it, but what vibration does that emit? It's just a small realization that I hope every single one of you can have. I'll give you another example. So one of our students in the psychic protection course, and I'm not trying to put the spotlight on you, but what I'm trying to do is reflect to you that how you view us and how you judge us and how you look at us is a direct reflection of your vibration. The first thing she said to me or to him or to us when she saw us face to face at one of our Zoom calls that we did for the psychic protection course that we offer through our mystery school, is she says, I resonate with 80% of you guys, of everything you say, but I don't like how you tip, or something like that. Now, when somebody says that, it shows that you're too in your head. Two, you're not in gratitude because you think you're our biggest fan, or you think you're our biggest student, or you think you're our well-wisher, but you're telling us we can read energy really well. So use all the things you think about us or what we trigger in you as a reflection to where you are. Where are you? Where are you vibrating? Because where you're vibrating is what you're going to see in us.
Exactly, and that's what you're going to also reflect to other people. So become mindful of your words.
Yes.
Are your words uplifting to other
And
people,
classy.
or are they bringing others down? Like if you're carrying negativity around within you and you're spreading that negativity around, you're only going to affect other people who are a match for that negativity.
Yes.
For us, it's not a problem because we don't attach to any negative comments. So we can brush it off and we can just move on.
And baby,
But-
remember how also some people, a lot of people, we talk about this and we literally look at it and say, okay, I hope they get it, because right now is the time for these lessons to be got. You know, a lot of people have wounds about the divine feminine or the divine masculine. So there are some people who, I remember when we first joined our channels, and this is all very important, guys, because it directly affects you and how you're viewing reality. So take all these codes that we're offering you as lessons, because these are the lessons that just make you get it. We're deciphering these lessons for you. So a lot of people I find have either a trigger with the masculine or the feminine. So let's say they have a trigger with the masculine. They weren't loved by their father, they were abused. So when we joined our channels, they would write to us saying, EldoRa, we really liked your channel when you guys were separate. You know, we don't want Siman. Remember, there were a few people.
Yeah, there were a few.
Or they'll do the opposite. They'll say, oh my God, Siman, you're such a good teacher, you're such a good guide. And they'll try to create this rift, which you can't possibly create a rift between us, but that's not important. You know what's really important, you guys? And I say this with all of my humility. When you are watching us and when you're trying to make a statement that is meant to divide us, you are creating a rift between divine father and divine mother. You're trying to create a rift which is not possible. So you're coming into a God consciousness relationship and you're trying to create a rift. So what I'm doing is I'm saying reflect that back to yourself and say, where are you still unhealed? That when you see us, instead of just loving us for who we are and how united we are and how cohesive we are and how we have truly merged as divine God consciousness, all your shit's coming up. So this is all very important. And the reason I say this is because right now, you have a little time to get on these lessons. If not in 5D, you're going to be at the basic, like you're going to be at the new students, and new starseeds will overtake you, and they'll be like teaching you how to live life. So use all these judgments that you have, the judgments that come up within you towards us or towards other people in your lives, to really reflect to you how you are doing in life. We've said this so often, but it's something that can go very, very, very deep.
Yes, and one of the stages in our awakening, when we go from 3D to 4D consciousness and then eventually to 5D, when we're in this middle state, so 3D vibrates up to 7.8 hertz. 4D consciousness vibrates between 20 to 40 hertz. And 5D consciousness is anything from 40 hertz all the way up to 100 hertz. So I want to talk about this period where most of the light workers who are watching this video are. You guys are more or less in the 4D frequencies of 20 to 40 hertz. What happens in these frequencies is that you've not yet ascended, you've not yet mastered your lessons, and you're still carrying, you have a higher awareness of how energy works, but you're still carrying a lot of the old programs from the 3D matrix, and you're assigning spiritual meanings to that way of behaving. So another way of saying that is you're still behaving unconsciously, but you're labeling it as, now I'm spiritual. So really nothing has changed. You're still slinging shit at each other or yourself. You're still putting yourself down because you've been maybe talked down to. And when we've been talked down to, when we have this negative self-talk, kind of like chatterbox always running within us, then we have a tendency to also speak that way to other people. Mm-hmm. So the jump from 4D to 5D, I would say, is the most, requires the most intellect.
Yes.
Requires the most heart intellect.
Yes.
Because this is not something you see right away. When you start realizing that it's all about shining the light within yourself and looking at all aspects of you that are still blocked, all aspects of you that are still acting out of that hurt version of you. Like, others have hurt me, so I will hurt others because this is how I feel better. This is normal. So when we break that abusive cycle, that's when we jump in our consciousness. When we start looking at all of life through the eyes of love, and when we say every word that is uttered out of my being is there to uplift others, I'm sending out a healing frequency rather than a destructive frequency. That's when you make the jump to 5D. So really start analyzing and looking at yourself instead of projecting your negative energy outwards, because it's always about ourselves.
I love that. So, you know, another thing we were shown recently is that in around 2018, we were shown, 2018, it could have been prior or later, doesn't matter. We were shown that the sun had a filter, the dark ones had placed a filter on the sun that were preventing all these ascension energies from entering starseeds and light workers in the way they were meant to be received by us.
It was like a curtain, like a dimensional curtain was placed around the sun. So the sun's light was coming to Earth, but the beneficial 5D gamma wave frequencies were being blocked.
And you guys know that all of our upgrades, every single upgrade that we get from the sun, we get from the galactic core. Now, that filter was dissipated, was dismantled by the light forces. We were recently shown this just in a quick psychic vision. They were dissipated or dismantled in 2018. So right now, many of us are in catch-up mode. We're in massive catch-up mode, and many of the 3D, so every single one of you knows that the perfected human template is 12 strands of DNA, and we were mutated to 2 strands of DNA. So just imagine the English language has A to Z, right? Imagine giving you B and X and saying, all right, this is the vocabulary now. Make your life, make all the sentences communicate with just B and X. That is how the human collective has been operating. We've been operating with just 2 out of our 12 strands of DNA. Now what's happening is that we are mutating back to our fully functional 12 strands of DNA as the ascended masters and the Adam Kadmon beings that we are, as the God beings that we are. And that's why Lightworkers and Starseeds are here right now. Now, those functioning in 3D, in third dimensional frequencies, are still operating with 2 strands of DNA. Many of you who are watching are probably operating, if you're just newly awoken, let's say you've had your awakening, but you're still not activated. You're not connected to the quantum computer. My friends, let me tell you, there's a lot of excitement ahead of you. This is just you're in the very, very, very advanced beginning stages of awakening, and so you're probably in 3 or 4 strands of activated DNA. Then if you're connected to the quantum computer and you start feeling more of your guidance, you have surety, you just know what you're doing, you're probably in 4 or 5 or 6 strands of activated DNA. But you know how the guides say, what the guides said? They said, don't get caught up on on whether you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 strands activated out of your 12. They're saying, look at it as a percentage and deal with the fact that many of you are still operating at less than 50% of DNA activated. So you see where you're going. You're going towards a mega being. You're going towards a powerhouse. You are a powerhouse. And right now we're mutating back to 12 strands, which is a beautiful metamorphosis of the human collective. You want to say anything about that?
Yeah, so many people think that the 12-strand DNA activation is physical. It's actually not. Our only 2 strands that are physical are the first 2 strands that keep this physical body intact. The other 10 strands are purely holographic, and that means they're activated by the galactic sun's energy. Our strands were our 10 strands were deactivated thousands of years ago at the fall of Atlantis, and that was done by a dark ET presence that was present on Earth, that was putting humans under their control. So they wanted to basically control all of humanity, because humanity is pretty much like the movie Matrix. We're like a food source. We're like a battery for these negative ETs. And these beings have cut themselves off from God's source, so their only chance of survival is to take over the consciousness of a civilization and to feed off their negative energy. But at the time that they were disconnecting the DNA strands, they had to leave a provision for these DNA strands to be reactivated at a certain time. So it's not like once we were disconnected, we were always going to stay in that state. We can now re-emerge from that darkness because our cycle is up. We were going into a dark cycle of the age of Pisces, and now we're going into a light cycle of the age of Aquarius. So the previous cycle is up, and there was also galactic contracts in place that stated that these dark beings only had this long to control Earth. Now that the new age is coming in, their contracts are up, so they have to leave. So what they're doing is they're seeing that humanity is now rising and they have no choice but to leave. But because being so controlling and being so narcissistic, they're not leaving without a fight, unfortunately. So their only game plan right now is to stop as much of humanity as possible. And they were doing that by placing this dimensional filter around between the sun and Earth, so that these gamma wave frequencies are not able to reach humanity and not able to awaken our dormant strands of DNA. But that was, like EldoRa mentioned, taken down in 2018. And since then, have you noticed that before 2018, we didn't have these like crazy intense energies? Like we had intensity, but not like the kinds we have now. Now it's like waves upon waves of
every week is like
gamma waves. So now we're actually moving past the point of no return. But also, this is an equation of frequency. It's an equation of your consciousness. So the more receptive you are to living in a heart-centered way, to living with the ideals of integrity and love and peace in your heart, the more that you wish better for all, the more that you are in service to the collective, the more that you want to uplift humanity, the more you absorb these higher frequencies. You can't be a manipulator like secretly within and still benefit from all of this, because it kills the switch.
And I want to say that in a different way. So what we've found in our own rise up the ascension elevator is that, so I'll give you a very direct example, because I like giving very direct examples so you guys just get it. I've been to Mount Shasta, 4 times now. Every single time I go, I unlock Mount Shasta based on the vibration of my consciousness. So the first time I didn't feel anything. I ate steak every single day because I was like, oh my God, this energy is crazy. I need to eat steak. Like, you know, when your light goes very high, you need grounding food. So my first trip was pretty much just me eating steak and potatoes and French fries, and this was like 6 years ago. And then the second time I went, I had a higher frequency. My body didn't want steak. My body juice detoxed a few days before that because my consciousness. So once your consciousness goes up, it guides you on how to eat and how to unlock the next level of Mount Shasta. This time, you guys, was a totally different reality for me. So the last time I went was 2 years ago, before I started my YouTube channel. Just before, that's where we got guidance to start our YouTube channel, really. So that was 2 years ago. This time, for the first time, I felt like I was unlocking so many keys because my consciousness has shot up in the last 2 years since my last trip. So this applies not just in Mount Shasta, it applies to everything in the world. Your consciousness, think of your consciousness, whatever light you're radiating, okay? So your consciousness, imagine you're a beacon of light. Okay, so imagine you are a beacon of light, because you are. The amount of light that shines through you or from you is directly proportional to how much work you have done in letting go of shame, in letting go of burden, in letting go of your negative ego and harmonizing it, in letting go of your negative self-talk, in harmonizing your shadows. So for example, let's say you've had a shadow of being too talkative. People call you a chatterbox, let's say. And that becomes your shadow. You say, you know what, I'm just going to shut up because people think I'm a chatterbox. I'm just giving you one example. And you lock that aspect up. It becomes your shadow. You lock that aspect up and you say, everybody thinks I talk too much. Everybody thinks I'm a chatterbox, or everybody thinks I'm a gossip monger, whatever it can be. You lock that room up. But what shadow work is that becomes the gold. Your shadows contain your highest gifts. So your shadows are basically all your most potent gifts, but not in balance. So they become your shadow. And so as you grow up and you awaken, you realize, oh my God, I better go back and dig into all those shadow aspects of me because guess what? All my gold is hidden in what I've locked up. All my gold, I'm actually going to be a huge powerhouse in the way I speak because now it's no longer my shadow. When you make it your shadow owns you, meaning it has energy over you. It says, hey, you're too talkative now, just shut up and, let the world take over. But when you harmonize it, when you say, okay, let me do some work in it. Let me go up and say, okay, why was I told that I speak so much? And you start harmonizing, you start going back in time to your childhood and give yourself that love that you never received. And you say, I'm not a chatterbox. People were just not receptive to what I had to say. I'm not weird. My family just was not able to see my light. I'm not a nut job. It's just that I'm ahead of the game, ahead of the curve. So you start taking all these shadows and you start saying, oh my God, all this self-worth issue that I have is just because people reflect to me stuff that they were not able to see in me. So they reflected to me only the things that they could see. Oh, you're a nut job. Oh, you're talkative. Because they are asleep. They are operating out of the 3D matrix. So when you start unlocking all of this gold that's hidden in your shadows, your vibration starts to go up. So now what happens is your light, the light that shines through you, is higher. Every single time we do retreats, in fact, the next retreat, we're going to measure your vibration when you come in. Even for solstice, I find that anytime you come into an event, a high vibrational event, you start off at a certain frequency. And when you leave, your frequency is I'm talking much higher than when you came in. So what happens is when your frequency goes up, your light goes up. And so the best analogy I can give you is imagine walking around a dark room with a dim light. You can only see so much in this world with a dim light. As your light gets brighter and brighter and brighter, as you raise your frequency, as your consciousness increases, as you start letting go of what no longer serves you, and you have the courage to do it. If you're in a freaking shitty relationship, you have the courage to let it go with love. If your son or your daughter is abusing you and you're letting them do it just because, oh my God, you gave birth to them, you take back your power and say, hey, I am the parent and I will not have you speak to me this way. Every time you do something as small as that, or let's say you have an old friend from your 3D days and she's speaking to you in a weird way and say, how are you like this? You've become a nut job and you're a conspiracy theorist or whatever. And instead of just allowing people to shoot at you like you're some stupid doormat, you wake up and say, hey, enough is enough. I know who I am. And if you cannot see me for who I am, step out of my way, please. That is the shift that's going to raise your consciousness, you guys. It's not, I love that, you got this. It's not a big science. It's just as simple. It's a simple mathematical equation. Every single time you drop a limiting belief and you say, enough is enough. I'm going to eat better. Every time my ego says, hey, go eat those French fries, once in a while, listen. If you want to treat yourself, treat yourself. You know when you're in balance. Every little thing you do to improve your life is going to raise your vibration. And then your guidance comes in. Your guides start talking to you. Like, our lives is nothing short of magic. We're in constant communication with our galactic family, with our guides. And every single one of you is on that train. Every single, it's, okay, you know why? You can't not be in communication with your guides. The fact, if you're not yet speaking to your guides and if you're not yet in full harmony with your galactic family, it just means you have too much shit going on in your 3D lives. So your 3D needs to be cleared up. And I have said this in many videos, guys, but right now I'm being guided to really spell it out. Your 3D needs to be cleared up. What are you waiting for? Why are you playing small? Why are you playing small? If you know that there is something staring at you in the face, like you have to lose weight, or you have to let go of certain relationships, or you have to discipline your son, even if it means saying, hey, go live with your father for 6 months because I've had enough and I'm going to do me now. My unconditional love for me deserves that I get more time with myself. Whatever you need to do right now, do it. Because right now, it's a golden opportunity to fast forward in your ascension. I'll give you another example. There's someone I know through our soul family who, and this happens all the time. There are a few people who came to our retreat, and this happens at every retreat. When they have a lot of work to do, guess what they do? They start becoming a counselor for everyone else. When they have a lot of shit to clear, instead of clearing their shit, they start hosting retreats. They start becoming a counselor to everyone, saying, oh, honey, I know what's happening to you. They do the opposite of what they're supposed to do. So I'm telling all of you, go back and work on yourselves, because right now, if your focus is on everyone else, you're really wasting your time, because those guys are not really going to ascend. The ascension timeline is done. Those of you who have been disconnected from the 3D matrix are ascending. Everyone who is meant to ascend has been disconnected from the 3D matrix, like we stated in the beginning of this video. And your souls are floating up in this waiting.
It's kind of like a waiting zone.
That's exactly how I see it.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to go deeper into the concept of souls being unplugged from the matrix.
Please do,
yes. What that really means is that the way it was being shown to us is that Lightworkers and starseeds, we came from different dimensions. We came from higher planes of existence, and we were inserted into this 3D matrix in order to break the matrix and show humanity how dysfunctional it was. So, because of that reason, it can no longer be allowed to continue. It's like in the Metatronic channeling, what Metatron reminded us is what the Dark Ones did was they took the universal creation codes of 999 and flipped them over into 666. What that really means is that they took the whole illusion of heaven on earth and they made it hell on earth. They literally flipped our poles and reversed them. So even the Earth's rotational axis has been tilted on purpose to throw Earth's reality off from its optimal timeline a bit. So what they did was they took healthcare and they made it against our health. like everything's inverted, right? They took food and they made it junk food, so that our body's full of junk DNA.
Education.
They took our education, like,
and made it nonsense.
What do you remember from school that you actually apply in school?
Nothing.
Nothing that's actually taught in school helps you.
It's bullfuck.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of bullfuck.
They took our governments and made them evil, tyrannical rulers. They took our banking system, and 99% of the world is in poverty.
They introduced taxes, and everybody thinks, oh, they're law-abiding citizens. I laugh when I see people that
we don't even have to pay taxes.
Yeah, like they're what? Can't say that stuff on public, but anyway.
What are you gonna say?
I love how you just bluntly stated it. But really, we're being shown that once we disconnect from this 3D matrix, none of these rules matter. They don't really matter. So how many of you have the balls to...
No, what I meant by what I just said is that before 1920s, taxes did not even, income tax did not exist. So all of these things were introduced as, like, this is being done, we're introducing taxes to raise funds for World War I, and then they never reversed that. So basically, humans have a very short-term memory. We forget. We don't question things. We don't say, hey, this is not how it used to be done. Why is it being done this way now?
Right.
So that's why starseeds came, and we were placed in these lower timelines so that we would help humanity decode all of these things that have been happening for centuries to keep us in slavery and misery, because we carry the light, and just our light is enough to shine and shine light on all the dark aspects of this 3D matrix and show people that this is how you're being tricked into giving your free will away. But now we're being shown that as of December 21st, 2021, the phase 1 of the ascension is over. So now all the information that we could show to the sleeping masses has been put out there, and there will not be any more information being sent out to wake up people anymore. Now,
say that again, what?
So all the disclosure information that had to be injected into the 3D reality has reached its peak.
Oh.
Like, at this point, if we keep injecting more and more and more information, the people who have to make a choice have already made a choice which reality they choose. So now we're going from phase 1, which was disclosure of information, to phase 2, which is the creation of the new timelines. So now we're getting into the very exciting phase of our ascension moving next year, is where we start creating the 5D timelines. And
you know, before you go on, you know, I have to tell them this story. 2 months ago, you guys, when we were in Costa Rica, 2.5 months ago, I remember suddenly Siman and I think it was me, one of us, it doesn't matter, we get the same guidance. 99% of the time we get the same guidance because we're connected to the same computer. We got guidance saying get houseofra.com. And we're thinking the whole fucking world is in lockdown. 555 people in the house. I love seeing these numbers. I was like, why the hell are we going to get... So anyway, we went to check houseofra.com. It was $5,000 to buy. So someone had already booked it and said, if you want it, you have to...
The domain, she means.
The domain was... You had to pay for the domain. So Siman and I looked at each other and we're like, the guidance is coming in to get houseofra.com, to buy it. And $5,000 is a lot when you're in a lockdown sitting in Costa Rica.
Like $10 a year.
It's usually $10. So we said, you know what, the guidance coming in was get houseofra.com. So we did. This was just 2.5 months ago. And we thought, okay, 5 years from now, whatever, 4 years from now, we'll have a dance party. We don't even know what to do with it. Right away in August, the Lionsgate portal, you all know how we were ejected out of Costa Rica in a very shocking manner and placed in Florida. And when we landed here, we had no idea we were going to host any event. Something said, you know, get a house here till beginning of Jan. And boom, the House of Ra timeline is here. So that's a clear example of where 2022 is going. Yeah. This House of Ra is a clear, energetic...
Exactly.
We're ahead of the curve. What our guides are showing us is with House of Ra, we're ahead of the game. And you know, another really, really, really exciting vision we saw in the Matrix or some movie, you know how there's this big dance party of the resistance movement?
It's in the Matrix.
You know what our guides showed us? They said House of Ra is going to be maybe not this one. I don't know if it's this one or the next one. I don't know. But House of Ra is going to be the ascension party. Do you realize what that is? House of Ra is going to host the
celebration
ascension
of
party.
New Earth arriving in our existence. So that's a huge deal.
It's a huge
and
deal.
So basically, going back to my point of having the information stop. Now we don't need to, now we don't need to wake up the masses anymore. That part's done. People have made a choice. The wheat separated from the chaff. And no matter how much we share information at this point, it won't have any effect on the population. So now we're moving to the next phase of this ascension, which is congregation of the like minds.
Yes.
So all like minds, whether you're in 3D, 4D, 5D, all like minds are going to start congregating and start forming hive minds. So let's say 300 or 350 of us meet physically in Miami on December 21st. Vibrationally, what happens? Vibrationally, what happens is that those 350 people are going to connect and create a hive mind. When we 350 Lightworkers meet with the same intentions of anchoring peace on earth, of anchoring a new age of love, of co-creating in harmony a future that is based on our freedoms, our desires, and our choices, those intentions are creating a very powerful pillar of light, because we're all sending the same intentions and we're all geographically anchoring these intentions into the same ground. So that ground moving forward becomes a node point for the 5D grid. So that's a huge thing. Think of the 5D grid as a network of light that surrounds our whole planet, and many gatherings will start taking place around the world. And with each gathering, we're going to anchor one and one more pillar until these pillars are so anchored that the 5D grid is prevalent on Earth. This doesn't mean that all of Earth will suddenly become 5D starting next year. There'll also be the descension timelines of the 3D timelines. So 3D will be descending at the same time as 5D is ascending. So think of next year as it's going to be super fun and exciting for those in the know, for those who are riding the wave of energy.
It's going to be our time, basically.
But at the same time, it's going to be super, super challenging for those who don't know, for those who are, for those who've made the soul's decision to give away their free will. It's going to be super difficult for those people, because their world's going to come crashing down, and there's nothing we can do to stop that from happening.
And it's not our burden to shoulder.
It's not even a burden, it's part of the plan, it's part of the dissipation. So Earth moving forward will be completely dominated by the 5D grid eventually, and the 3D pockets will crash. So what that means is that people who are in dense areas right now will start separating. So we see like a population sifting and sorting, and a physical separation occurring starting next year. And in the
and
next
don't
few
resist
years.
the separation. It's like, there was a girl who came to our retreat and she's like, all my friends are from my 3D life and I feel so bad to not talk to them, but they drain me, they just like, they drain me, but I feel so bad, so I just keep giving them my positive energy. This is actually what you must not be doing. I mean, I like to speak very directly what we must and we mustn't, even though most spiritual teachers don't speak that way. We right now have work to do, and it's not your burden to carry. And I want to give a shout out to Naz and Morris. They've been following our channel since the very beginning when we had separate channels, and through our own journey of moving from Canada to Costa Rica, they were so inspired that they, when Morris's job, and I know you guys are watching, Naz Light, when their jobs gave them an ultimatum saying either get your thing or leave, you know what, Morris, even though if he had stayed an extra year or two, he was going to get a big fat pension or something, I don't know the details. They said, screw you, and they're now in Mexico. They've left Canada, they've left this goddamn dump of dark tyranny, and they've moved to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, where they're living the life. And when I challenged them on the last video, a few videos ago, saying, don't be in lack. If you think you can come to Solstice from anywhere in the world, make it happen. They bought tickets to Solstice, so they're coming to, so they're kind of navigating now the 5D grid.
And they started their own YouTube channel.
Yes, Morris, put your YouTube channel here.
Yes,
so what they're doing now in
guys.
Mexico is they're reviewing restaurants and giving restaurant testimonials. And so they've separated out, what was Morris in, he was in IT or something. So you see how Lightworkers right now are leaving the grid in their own way. And if you guys are stuck in the grid I wanted to show you my tourmaline real quick because many of you asked if we brought it to Miami. Yes, we did. It's chipping off though. Anyway, one of the things that's coming in right now, you guys, is you worry too much. Many of you worry too much. If you're right now not sure on what you're supposed to be doing on this planet, or you're not sure where you're supposed to be living, don't worry. Instead, just be happy and set intentions and say, oh my God, my life is so exciting. Guides, please guide me. And I am just in surrender, waiting for the universe to bring me the perfect plan for where my heart is my guiding force. So just give your instructions. That's how we live our lives. We just bask, we just set the intentions and we say, we're in divine service. Guides, if this has to happen, make it happen. If not, we're in surrender. So every single one of you, it's not a time to worry. It's not a time to be ashamed of yourself. In these energies, many of you might be feeling, oh my God, we're not productive. Screw that. That's all 3D. 3D is all about working like donkeys, working hard, working hard, working hard. For some other person, 4D, as soon as you awaken, you get into this world of 4D. Many of you are in 4D. Some of you are in low 4D. Some of you are in mid 4D. What happens in 4D is all your shadows get revealed. Your negativity shows up. Your trauma shows up. Your inadequacies showed up. Now you have to clear all of that. So you're doing so much work. Imagine on top of that, if you're burdening yourself saying, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. Give yourselves a goddamn break. When the energy wants you to sleep, please go sleep. When the energy wants you to work, go work. That's how you navigate the energies. You don't go against the flow. You go with the flow.
And many people, when we awaken, we suddenly think we're like the firefighters who have to put out all the fires. But we have to put out the fire within. You can't be a healer when your own life is a mess. So you can't really help others when you need help yourself. So the first step that we always bring people back to is keep on working on yourself until you're healed enough to a point where you can start helping others. So other than that, there's really no point. You're going to be misguided if you keep on trying to help or trying to go outside and be distracted from your own inner work.
Yes. So guys, before we get off, it's so amazing doing this live with you. Honestly, your energy is something we can feel. Just like many of you commented saying we feel this buzzing energy when you're talking. Many of you said that. It's because we're transmitting live. So you're getting all the codes that are in our light bodies. That's how our Markabas are communicating. Do you guys know that when we come together in the physical, it's just going to be this on steroids? So there's going to be lots of options to come together in the physical. If you're not able to come to Miami this December, please don't feel left out. You're not left out. You are such an important part of this plan.
I'm really glad you said that, because the people who are not able to join us physically will very much be a part of the ceremony.
Yes.
And we will include everyone in our intentions, so that the people who are doing the physical work are anchoring the light. The people who are doing the vibrational work remotely are going to be space holders. So we're all doing the same work.
And for those of you who are coming physically, change your mindset to, oh, I'm going to an event, to I'm being summoned to do my service. I'm being summoned to do light work. Like literally, the event is just a bonus. But what we're really being called to is to get some work done and have fun with it.
This is very important spiritual work, and this is all part of our guidance. We were shown this meeting of the physical even before we realized that it's supposed to happen this year.
And imagine, just 2.5 months ago, we bought the domain houseofra.com. So we're moving so fast. Sometimes we forget how fast we're moving.
We can't even keep up with our own guidance. That's how quickly
and that's how quickly 2022, that's what you're seeing in us is the energy of 2022. It's huge momentum and everybody coming together, bliss, harmony, fun, love, connections. So many of you who are coming, we've also been shown that those who are being called this December, it's not by coincidence that you're coming. It's part of a higher plan. And when you come in, the hive mind is going to get stronger. And our guides are actually very, very happy with us for something. They've always shared with us. They've said, EldoRa and Siman, how selflessly, it's very sweet, because your guides will only reflect the most loving, positive things to you. They'll never demean you. They'll never put you down. They're your highest well-wishers. So they always say to us, they say, you know, EldoRa and Siman, how open you are in trying to create connection, it's missing on earth. Like there's people with millions of followings and we don't even realize that. We're like, really? Because this comes so naturally to us. Our guides love that we're encouraging all of you to connect. And because that connection is going to lead to so many new neural pathways of light being formed. So once you leave Miami, all of a sudden there's this new light grid that has been formed as a result of this meeting. A few quick announcements. So we are on social media. We're on Telegram. We have a very thriving Telegram community. All the links are below. Telegram's my favorite out of all. Telegram and YouTube are my two favorites. Facebook has a lot of different vibrations. So I find that when I make a post on Facebook, I don't go read the comments because there's like super low vibrating comments, which I don't want to read because that's not, something that I want in my reality. But our Telegram family is very high vibing. So if you want to join there, and Facebook, we have a few admins, and we also have so many beautiful people like Cindy Torres and Joanne Myers who are like the space holders of Facebook. We're also on Instagram. All our links are below. Very important, if you have not signed up for our email list, please do. You can go to www.houseofra.com. Go to the bottom and it says join our mailing list. Closer to the solstice, when we get final instructions from our guides as to how we can anchor light, for those of you who are not present, as well as those of you who are present in Miami, we're going to be sending out emails. So make sure you do that. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and do that. What else was there? There was a few housekeeping things I had to talk about. I think that was it. And please share. One of the things about 5D is to get off your asses and share. The other day, someone commented, they're like, there's 20,000 people who've watched this video and only 1,000 people who had the time to hit the like button. And this is something else I want to share with you guys. Many of us who are on the path of service, we do things so unconditionally that our audience doesn't have a hold on us. If we were in our ego, we'd be like, oh my God, people are so ungrateful. 20,000 watch it. Nobody even has the decency, the courtesy to hit like. Your ego can take you down a very nasty story. So if any of you if you're in your light work and you're doing your light work, don't let your audience have that control over you. We know what we're doing and we're not doing it for your likes. But at the same time, the teaching in this is that when you openly share and you allow energy to move, to not get stagnant, when you receive so much and you start giving it, you start sharing it in groups, you silently, what you do behind closed doors is what that energy that you create in sharing, it's gonna come back to you 10,000 fold, you guys. That's how we do so well. We're always giving in balance, but we're always giving. When we see someone in need, we go out of our way to give. When something resonates with us, we share. We give you all the codes that we have cracked so you can crack it. That's why our lives are filled with so much abundance, so much abundance. So I want you guys to all feel this abundant in every aspect of your life, and I'm giving you a direct key to it. Share.
That's very important.
Share information.
Yeah, giving unconditionally is the key to unlocking your abundance.
Yes.
So take that very seriously.
All right, you guys, I think that was it. We love you so much. That was nice. I'm happy that we did that. All right, everybody. Amazing. I'm just reading all your comments here. You're so welcome. Love you all. Beautiful, you guys. Thank you. You're so welcome. Love you too.
Thank you for tuning in, and we'll connect with you guys soon.
Take care. Bye now.